You're listening to Cinematic Adventures, proud member of the Misfit Faction Media Network.
Good morning, Vietnam!
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Badges? We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges.
You make me want to be a better man.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
He's looking at you, kid.
I've always depended on the kindness of strangers.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Would you be shocked if I put on something more comfortable?
You know how to whistle, don't you, Steve? You just put your lips together and blow.
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Cinematic Adventures. If you're listening to us on the go, you can get us on Podbean, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, and pretty much anywhere else you can get your podcast. You can even tell Alexa, hey, Alexa, let me listen to Cinematic Adventures. I don't know if you're going to get us, but you might get something about movies, so try it. You never know. As always, I'm one of your hosts. My name is Sean, and we're here with Paul, who's already giggling. Paul, how are you doing today?
Try it. You never know. It's actually the motto of our podcast network. Try it. You never know.
Never know.
I am good. Sean, how are you today?
I'm great as always. I'm looking forward to this episode because not only do we actually like the movie we're talking about, which is always a plus.
It's not crap.
It's not crap. But
Space
we
Jam
are
2.
joined by a special guest who was last with us back in May for our very first Star Wars episode, Episode 4, New Hope, and that is Brendan. Brendan, welcome back, and it's great to see you.
Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for having me back.
Also, congratulations, because you've been, well, you already were married, but you've been married again.
We had the church wedding and the reception finally, so it was just a huge weight lifted off the shoulder to finally have the day we envisioned. You know, the weather was great, everything mostly went smoothly. You know, I might tell you otherwise behind closed doors, but for the most part, everything went smoothly, and it was just a great time.
There we go.
What are you trying to hold
The
in
way
with?
Sean made it seem was that you got divorced and remarried.
Not really.
When you said it, I was like he was already married, but then he got really married.
Well, how else am I gonna word it? God,
it just happened.
I can't do anything right.
No, it's weird even explaining to you. Like, I got married a second time to the same woman. You know, it's basically like the easy way to explain it to people without going into the
Sounds
whole
like a
COVID.
Brady Bunch episode.
I basically say we're a COVID wedding. That's the shorthand. We were a COVID wedding.
Well, it's great having you, and we also want to give a little shout-out to your YouTube channel. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so I run a YouTube channel called BlindBat8719 for you audio listeners, which is the podcast, obviously. BLNDBAT8719. Look me up on YouTube. I'm a Magic the Gathering content creator. I play primarily in the Brawl format. So if you like playing Magic the Gathering, come on to the channel, check out some of my videos, and subscribe and help me grow my channel.
Absolutely, please do that, and then obviously, tell your friends about Cinematic Adventures. Let's grow us,
of course.
We got to keep going.
Our YouTube channel.
Our goal is apparently to become critics and be able to be a press at Comic-Con and stuff and not get laughed at.
Actually, ultimate goal, and I thought about this because I have just I imagine winning the lottery randomly.
Mm-hmm.
We would have an actual movie studio and make independent films too. Just throwing that out there. That'd be really cool.
What kind of films?
Don't worry about it.
That's
No, like superhero fan films, stuff like that'd be really cool.
Oh yeah, that'd be
kind of
awesome.
like be compared to Bat in the Sun almost.
Something like that, yeah.
But before we get into the movie, I just want to give a little shout out. Myself, Paul, and producer Melanie, we attended a really fun little comic convention back on a couple days ago at Mohegan Sun called Terrificon. Just want to give a shout out to that because that was a lot of fun. It's small. It's not. It's obviously not New York Comic Con. It's not San Diego Comic Con, but it's one of those. For $30, you go, you see some really good art exhibits, some good vendors there with some fun stuff. We all walked out with some interesting items, and I'm going to shoot it to Paul because Paul's got a little bit there.
Yeah, so we did also get a lot of artwork for the studio. I think over the next couple of days you're going to see on our Instagram page, which is the Misfit Faction, you're going to see not only a little bit of the the artwork that we bought from local vendors, but producer Melanie from Bibliophiles Assemble, she also managed to not only get a signed comic book by a studio there that was just super friendly and really cool. I'll let you guys check out our posting for that. But also she met an actor by the name of Christopher Atkins.
Yes, Blue Lagoon.
Yeah, Blue Lagoon. No other movie. Like, I've
No other
never
movie.
seen him in another movie.
Like, that's...
I felt the look. Producer Melanie's giving me the look. But from the Pirate movie, which is a personal favorite of producer Melanie, and also by default, I thoroughly enjoyed it when I got to watch it. It was definitely not what I expected. So if you're ever at like a convention, like a Terrificon, or hopefully like a New York Comic Con, one day even San Diego Comic Con, and you see us wearing the Misfit Faction shirt, come say hi.
Yes, because Paul and Melanie did good. They showed up actually in their Misfit Faction t-shirts. I forgot mine.
And make sure you make fun of Sean for wearing a Power Ranger shirt, but not going to talk to the only Power Ranger there.
I already got his signature. All right, leave me alone. Okay?
Who was there?
Rocky.
Steve Cardenas.
Ooh, okay.
And Johnny Young Bosch was supposed to be there, but he had to cancel, I believe. I can't remember if he had to cancel the whole thing or he had to cancel for Sunday. I don't remember. But it was a lot of fun. We highly recommend it for next year for anyone out there who wants to attend. Any of those little comic conventions they do a good job. So definitely had a lot of fun with that. So getting on to the movie in question, we're all very excited. That's why Brendan's here, because we're talking about, again, another one of those movies that we grew up with, that came out when we were kids, that we've grown to love as always, and it's also kind of gained a cult following, and that is 1991's The Rocketeer, released by Touchstone Pictures, Walt Disney, a subsidiary of Disney, back in the early 90s, and looking forward to this one. Paul, what are your memories of The Rocketeer, if you have any?
I thought the effects were much better as a child.
Fair enough.
I think I would agree with you on that.
So for me, I remember watching this movie as a kid. I remember, like, as a kid, I would always start it when he finally started flying around with the damn thing. Like, for me, like, as a kid, the beginning was, like, almost, like, boring. I was like, do stuff. He's wearing the jacket. Put the thing on. Like, for me, it was, like, a lot of build-up. Now, as, like, an adult, I love watching the opening scene.
Great.
It's like... He punches a cop.
He does.
Yeah.
Like
FBI agent, too.
And like the first, and even better, the other guy's like, "Come on, you deserved it.
Yeah.
You deserved
you were a
one."
bit of a jerk.
But I thoroughly enjoy this movie. I'd say 80% the effects still actually hold up. It's a lot of wire work. They do a lot of great wire work and a lot of, especially the scene where he's in the club.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of good just wire work. Not so much with the green screen effects or the attempt to, but there are some jarring scenes where
absolutely.
But story wise, like, it's a great story, and that's one of the best things. A lot of movies, when they're dated, this is a good example of a movie just dated by its effects. Story, cast, the plot, everything still holds up, and I think it's just as good nowadays. Like when somebody watches it just for the story.
I agree. Brendan, how about you?
As a kid, I think it was a movie that I watched that I thought was just fun. That the guy's flying around, there's some excitement, some action. I think there were probably more scenes as a kid where I was more bored with. I think the club scene was probably something I was a little more bored with at times. I'm like, what's going on here? But I think it's more for me like just moments that stick out. The Bulldog Cafe, just because that was a unique piece of architecture. The scene at the end with the Zeppelin, just because seeing that thing blow up.
There were Zeppelins?
Zeppelins.
Oh.
German, not Italian.
My fat ass over here.
So it was mostly the feels, and then rewatching it. I rewatched it on Sunday. I was just kind of cool. Like, again, like the intro that you appreciate more now as an adult, like the writing a bit. And I think it was interesting too, like thinking back, like what time was like. Like, okay, it's 1938, which was like 80 years ago. But also understand that how times are different and times are changed. Like when we said with the guy, he punched the one guy, and his partner's like, "Look, you kind of were a jerk," and there weren't cameras everywhere back then, so people kind of settled things themselves at times.
People knew how to take a punch and throw a punch. You settled things in the parking lot.
Well, they had their own like civility of sorts of how to interact with people at times. So that was one thing. But even then, the idea, like he talks at one point about, we'll do the job for $15. Fly an airplane, do this crazy stunt. And you're like, $15? That's not really a whole lot, but when you think $15,
it's like $150 now. Basically.
$1938. That was a lot of money back then.
Yeah. For me, this is one of those early movies. I used to watch on the Disney Channel. Back in the day. I think I had it on VHS, but I remember the first time watching this and just being, I guess, just mesmerized by the whole, flying and stuff like that. Because I wasn't really into superheroes, as a kid. And I didn't read comic books. So, like, watching the old George Reeves Superman show, I was very much taken by the period piece and stuff like that. Paul, you got your hand raised. Why?
$15 in 2021 would be $289.04.
Okay.
Wow.
That's pretty good. Would you fly a plane for $289.04?
Yeah. Why would I not fly a plane for it? I'm not paying for it.
I know, but just for that much, you'd actually get into a plane and actually fly it without no training?
Oh, I'm so... whoa. That's a caveat you should have led with.
Well, I was gonna say no, because remember too, like all the prices are appropriate for the time too. That's the other thing too. You could probably buy a lot of food. You can do a lot of things.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that would have paid for their. Basically almost paid just to replace the plane that they destroy at the beginning of the movie. I mean,
Probably.
But I love period films. I love movies that are made, in the, 70s, 80s, 90s that take place, in the 30s and 40s. I just love seeing that time, that era. It's very rare for me to watch a period film and not enjoy it. So that's always a big factor for me.
I like exclamation point films.
Exclamation point films?
Yeah, they're like period films, but a little bit more intense. I made that up.
I was going to say, I don't understand
Good
where you're
job.
going
Sorry,
with the exclamation.
Producer Ronnie's over here, and I really channeled him on that one. Yeah, he high-fived me for that.
Wow.
Oh, that was good. I actually... Well done.
Thank you.
Well done. It's starting to fester, but not in a bad way.
How do you fester in a good way?
Because it's more Ronnie speaking than you. It was like Ronnie speaking through you.
That's why we turned off his microphone.
But yet you still channeled him.
We're like, Ronnie, do you want to do this episode? He's like, I saw this movie. I was 2. But so we're talking about period pieces. Like, as an adult, though, like watching this film again, I was like, oh, it's Howard Hughes. Like, he's a famous guy.
But then
like
you watch The Aviator, and it's like, that's not the Howard Hughes, though. Like,
weren't his fingernails 42 inches?
Yeah,
or something?
it's like
crazy.
I remember going to see The Aviator. I'm like, oh, I know who Howard Hughes is. From the Rocketeer.
He built the rocket pack.
He built the rocket pack, and then you're like, this guy is like a nut job, and you're like, that's not the same guy. Come on.
He didn't give the Rocketeer handy wipes. Got to clean off before you touch me.
Mason jars all over the place.
Oh, God.
Well, with the setting, too, I'm just a huge fan of Art Deco style in general, whether it be artwork, movies. I like the film noir style, because that would definitely be something that would fall in this time frame and whatnot. I don't know, the aesthetic always seemed very cool to me. It's something that I really enjoy. So this movie with the setting piece, like, again, things around the same time, too, like Indiana Jones, all those kind of have that.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Who Framed Roger Rabbit would be a good one.
Even like, we were talking before we started recording, The Shadow came out a couple years later. That was a period film. The Phantom a couple years after that. Captain America.
Robin Hood Men in Tights.
And not saying it's period piece, different period. Dick Tracy, all in that 30s, 1940s, time. This is obviously 1938, so this is before our involvement in World War II, but it's already going.
The Nazis are coming to power.
The Nazis are coming to power. They haven't invaded Poland yet, so the war has not started. But there's a scene actually in the beginning of the movie that essentially foreshadows, where the movie's going to go, and it's kind of like you see the American, reaction to what's going on over in Europe, and it's kind of like, well, this isn't bothering us, so, what are we
It reminds me of the Robot Chicken episode where they do the classroom with little Hitler. Now, we do not condone Nazism or Hitler in any sort of way, but Robot Chicken made it a parody, so it's socially acceptable. But he keeps taking all the desks from the other kids, and the USA kid is sitting there going, not my problem, and the Japan kid comes over, knocks over his milk, he says, now it's my problem. Yeah. That was also the American mentality during that time. It's not. We just got out of World War I. We just got out of the Great Depression.
Until you attack us, we're not going to bother. That was the mentality, and it's
America.
3 years later, obviously, is when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. So, but again, it's just that time period that just it interests me. Like, I keep thinking, like, what time in history would you like to go back and live in? And honestly, like, that time period would be really interesting for me to live in. The 30s, the 40s, the 50s. That era, I would actually be really intrigued to live in.
Along with the bankroll to enjoy the best part of life during that time frame.
Very true, because
like soap.
With my luck, it's you're living on nothing during the Great Depression, and during the Dust Bowl and stuff. So, but Paul, do you want to start with the cast of this film?
James Bond.
Good one.
is in this movie. No, so we got Billy Campbell as Cliff Secord / the Rocketeer. I really like Billy Campbell.
I do too. I mean, he's one of those, every now and then he pops up in a film and you like a lot of stuff he does.
I've never not liked his stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I watched the 4400 for its entire run, and he was fantastic on it. Coming up, Jennifer Connelly? I've never heard of this lady before.
Connelly.
No.
Academy Award winner Jennifer Connelly.
Married to Paul Bettany.
I always forget that.
Yeah, she also played the voice in Spider-Man Homecoming, the voice of his suit.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
I believe. Either that or she was My Girl Friday. I don't remember. She's one of the voices in one of the shows.
I believe you.
Friday, yeah.
Yeah, maybe Friday. Alan Arkin as Peavy.
Alan Arkin is great in everything he does.
Yes, he is a gem.
Honestly, I had to look up. Again, I looked all these things up. I think the only one I read up for Arkin that I recognized was the Argo. Actually.
Oh, Argo. I mean, I can list a bunch.
You could probably list a bunch, but that was one I was like, okay. Oh, that's the guy from Argo. Okay.
Yeah, no, he's been around since the early '60s. He is just a true great character actor.
Well, I think what struck out with me was like you see him how he looks in the film with the makeup and everything, and you're like,
and the wig,
and then you look at him like the pictures they have him in real life, like, oh, you actually look a lot better in the movie at times. I know.
Santa Claus 3.
Oh, that's right. He's one of the parents, right?
Actually, my favorite Alan Arkin moment of all time, and mild language in this, in Get Smart.
Yes!
When he's like, Chief, are you thinking what I'm thinking? After they crash to the wall. And there's a giant, fake swordfish, almost stabbing him in the face. And he goes, is it holy shit, swordfish just almost killed me? I
remember in the theater, we were dying at that scene. Because it was just so, just stupid, but we were just like, it was hysterical.
I totally forgot he was in the Muppets.
And then next, who we got next?
I was looking at Alan Arkin.
You were listening.
Timothy Dalton.
There we go.
As Neville Sinclair. Another actor who didn't... He was good as Bond, but, it wasn't... He's considered one of the weaker Bonds?
Well, see, now, I don't want to get in... I don't want to go totally off topic here, but this
is on topic. We're talking about him.
He wasn't given a fair shake, because I think that his two movies weren't the greatest written of the Bond films, but I still enjoy them very much. I think License to Kill is a fantastic movie. But the License to Kill came out in '89, and then they didn't make another Bond movie for 6 years until GoldenEye came out. So he never got, his third chance to really, continue on with this. But, I mean, this is 1981, so this is 2 years after his last Bond film. So, I mean, he's still riding high from being James Bond.
To annoy Sean.
Just to annoy me.
Timothy Dalton was also in Looney Tunes Back in Action.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, see? Follow back from last week's episode on Space Jam and Space Jam 2. Crap.
Was Timothy Dalton the gadgety Bond?
He was pretty much what Daniel Craig is.
Okay.
Yeah,
he was just ahead of his time.
Much more physical Bonds.
Because they went from the jokey Roger Moore to this serious, will kill you, in 2 steps, Timothy Dalton. Then they go back to, not jokey. I'm not in any way criticizing Pierce Brosnan's performance. He was great.
No.
But they go back to that Sean Connery, Roger Moore, and then obviously we get Daniel Craig, who, if you watch the Daniel Craig films and you watch the Timothy Dalton films, I mean, to me, they're very much the same type of Bond. That's why I feel he doesn't get as much of a fair shake as the other actors do. But
I will always say how much I love him in Hot Fuzz. And,
Hot Fuzz is fantastic.
And Doom Patrol. He plays the chief in Doom Patrol.
He was also, I never saw it, but I hear he's very good in Penny Dreadful.
Oh yeah.
But he's another one that every time he pops up in a movie, he is good, and he never disappoints in any performance that he does. Even if it's Looney Tunes Back in Action, guy looks like he's having fun. I mean, you can't.
That's also one of the best movies ever.
Stop.
I just wanted to see your reaction.
Oh, jeez.
He won't let me live that down because I said Space Jam 2 was basically like Looney Tunes Back in Action.
You said what?
Space Jam 2.
Crap.
There you go.
Yeah, you got to say it, man.
That's
our new running joke.
It is. That's very true.
Any movie that we don't like, just say crap at the end.
Okay. But what if we don't agree on it?
Ooh.
Then that can be figured out off air.
We'll have a crap not crap debate. We have Terry O'Quinn as Howard Hughes. Looks just great looking. Yeah. Great look-alike. Now, there's a lot of other characters who I really don't like, or not even that I don't like. Don't know. Excuse me.
Well, you got Paul Sorvino as Eddie Valentine.
Now, I did not appreciate this as a kid, but I appreciate it even more when he's like, I may not be
I'm
an honest guy,
but I'm 100% American.
Yeah.
Best scene in the entire movie.
You know who else did that in the comics?
Joker.
The Joker did.
Yeah,
he
Joker.
refused to work with the Nazis.
Yep.
American propaganda, man. That was at the height of it too. But yeah, I love that scene when he's firing with the FBI guy and they look at each other for a second.
Like,
oh yeah, whatever.
War makes strange bedfellows.
Yep. Then we have Ed Lauder as Fitch. I'm just gonna
one of the FBI guys.
Yeah, I'm just gonna run through these. James Handy as Wooly Wolininski.
Another FBI guy.
Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because I'm not saying it. John Polito as Bigelow, who gets bent in half in this movie. Disney.
Touchstone.
A subsidiary of Disney.
Touchstone.
Your Touchstone. I feel really bad about that. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
William Sanderson as Skeets. Margot Martindale as Millie. John Laviacelli as Rusty. Clint Howard as Mark. Melora Hardin as South Seas singer. All right, we're at the bottom. Rick Overton as South Seas patron.
All right.
Tiny Ron Taylor as Lothar.
You got to mention Lothar.
Where is it? The Rocket. He was a scary dude.
He was.
Based off of a 1940s horror actor called Ronald Hatton. If you look up that actor and this guy, I mean, it's like exactly the same.
He was in Ace Ventura.
Yep.
Who is he in Ace Ventura?
Rock? Is he he's the guy in the beginning, I guess.
Oh.
With the dog.
Okay.
Yeah, wow. Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Some deep cuts here.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Then a little bit of TV work. Good for him. Unfortunately, he did pass away 2 years ago, age 72.
Wow.
Oh, good for him. Good for him.
So he was already in his 50s when he did like Ace Ventura.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Alrighty, well that's the cast, so I guess we're going to go into the plot.
The movie starts off in 1938, Los Angeles. We have the movie starts off with a very nice high-speed chase between two criminals and the FBI.
Let me just, before you get a little further in, just that opening scene where the airplane hangar doors are opening up and you get that James Horner music.
The music in this is fantastic.
I mean, and James Horner, rest in peace. I mean, he's another one. I mean, he's been, I guess you could say he was typecast by the success of Titanic, but he's another one where like mostly any of his scores are just very good. Even if it's a small movie like this, just really, really good.
Yeah, I like the theme's going to be the opening for the episode, I think.
Well, I would say also, the other thing too, of the way they not that they filmed it, but the way they presented it or edited it. It's opening up the late. You go from the opening credit or the scene of the Touchstone, I think, logo.
Yep.
And then that disappears as it
stays black.
Yeah.
So and then it just opens up and you're opening up into the the bright sunshine of L.A. Very similar to like the Searchers scene where where she opens the door and it's like this amazing view and stuff like that. I always love stuff like that where it's like you're in a closed space and you're opening up into this vast open area.
And they go right ahead, and I think to establishing how the characters are a little bit, because the plane comes out, and then Cliff at one point takes his gum and puts it on the back of the plane.
For luck, apparently.
And then PV comes out and is like, "What the frick? That was a fresh paint job." As you start establishing the relationship.
Like, you want me to crash?
It's because he took the gum off.
Pretty much.
PV pulls that gum right off,
He does.
and you know what? He learns throughout the rest of the movie. He's the one moving the gum around because he learned.
Apparently, that particular gum was actually important back in the day. Like
GB.
I had no idea, but also because apparently it had like some sort of Pepsid in it, so this way it would calm the pilot's nerves. So in addition to helping with the air pressure being up there, it made him like have more nerves of steel, I guess.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
I was just
Beeman's Gum was the name of it. So the movie's cutting back and forth between this high-speed chase and Cliff Secord, who we're introduced to as a pilot with PV, his mechanic, as we said, and they're getting ready to test fly their brand new plane that they spent years making and all the money that they had because they want to go to nationals. They don't want to. Cliff's like a stunt pilot. He's doing just air shows at this point. Still a thing nowadays. You can go see an air show anytime. Like they're fun events, but the chase spills onto the raceway as Cliff's flying. So Cliff's doing laps and they're testing and everything's going really well, but it takes a few shots during the fight because
one of the gangsters just looks up and he's like, I'm just going to shoot at this guy.
They probably think it's the FBI.
I agree. But
that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, obviously, of course, you see the plane is struggling, crashes, And, I mean, like a significant crash, too.
It hits one of the cars and it takes out the landing.
Yes.
It takes out one wheel of the landing, you know?
And then the oil is all, like, pouring out onto him and stuff like that.
Yep.
So, I mean, they
punches through the glass so we can see. Like, I was like, oh, wow, that's intense.
So, during this time, one of the gangsters is killed, and the other, in the plane hangar, ditches the package that they're trying to steal in, like, an old plane. The plane we find out later is the plane that they use for their clown show.
Yes.
Yeah, which I don't get. We're gonna put the pilot in a clown outfit. Nobody's gonna see him.
I was thinking that too.
I think
Malcolm.
No, he wasn't. I thought maybe like he's supposed to jump out of the plane, but I don't. That's not.
I don't know.
Yeah,
probably not. I wouldn't think so.
Because you're right. Now that you think about it, it's like who's gonna notice he's in a
probably
clown
just walk
costume?
into the tarmac or whatever.
Yeah, good point.
But so. The other gangsters one gangster gets killed, the other gets arrested. Cliff and the FBI have a huge like almost a brawl. Like they start fighting.
Well, because they blow up does the airplane get blown up or what?
Well, the airplane is destroyed, but then of course the plane, the car that the guy jumps out of the car, it runs into the fuel truck. So obviously they're pissed off. That's like, why'd you bring this fight onto our runway? Now we lost all our money. And
maybe it's time to get a real job.
Yep, and that guy deserved it.
He deserved to get
But then, of course, the boss of the airfield, Bigelow, goes to them and says, "You guys owe me money." And they're like, "What for?" And he goes, "You destroyed my fuel truck." And he goes, well, "We didn't destroy it. The gangster car destroyed it." "Yeah, after crashing off of your plane." So really dick move, but it's like we don't have the money. It's like, oh, okay, well you can be the clown in the plane for a couple shows, and they're like, thanks a lot. That's...
You ever notice that 1920s not nice guys are all the same?
Oh, pretty much.
I was gonna say something
because Bigelow's not necessarily like a bad guy.
He's not a bad guy. He's
a business promoter.
He's a businessman. He's a businessman who's
corrupt businessman.
Yeah, pretty much.
Probably has his hand in some shady dealings. But so we find out that the criminals were hired by a movie star named Neville Sinclair. They're part of the Valentine gang.
Nice little subtle jab at Errol Flynn and
what a
Douglas
classy
Fairbanks.
Name. Well, I guarantee that's not his actual name.
No, probably not. It's a stage name.
It's an alias.
Well, what I always thought was kind of cool about that when I was rewatching it the second time, like, huh? And so instead of making it like the reveal of some, because in other movies you'd have something like this, you might meet the Neville Sinclair character and be like, oh, he's a nice guy who's trying to help out, and they'll have the reveal at the end that he's actually the evil bad guy or whatnot.
No, they jump right into he's the bad guy.
But they don't say he's a Nazi until the very. That's the reveal.
That's the reveal. The Nazi's the reveal, but he's the bad guy.
Well, I thought that was kind of cool. Again, the reveal is his motivation per se, like why he wants it. You find, oh, you're a Nazi, as opposed to, oh no, I'm the evil bad guy all along. I like that they kind of flipped it up a little bit.
Yeah, at first you just think he's a rich guy who found out, they're creating this, rocket, and he's like, oh, I want that. It's like, what the hell? But then you find out, obviously, he needs it for, Germany.
We find out also everything we need to know about Neville Sinclair in this opening scene. You see that he's skilled with a sword, because he does make the comment, I do my own stunts. Like, he knows how to fight. He's not afraid of dying. Like, he literally is about to kill Valentine with the sword.
Yeah.
And, he tells him he's not, being around the bush. He's like, it's a rocket pack.
Yeah,
a rocket, like from the comic books. So they find out that one of the guys is still alive, so he sends Lothar, his gigantic henchman, to question the getaway driver, who tells him that the rocket is hidden at the airfield. So,
and then he folds the guy in half.
Well, see, that scene as a kid, that terrified
me. Oh, that terrified.
Yeah, that was scary.
That terrified.
Hearing him
because
scream.
You're hearing him scream. And then, of course, they open the door. The nurse screams, and then the cop looks out the window, and the guy just shimmies along. Yeah. It's like the feet just shimmy along the side of the building.
So Cliff goes out to meet his girlfriend, who's an aspiring actress named Jenny Blake, and I love how you get to see like the girls' home that she lives in, and how it has rules, and how the madam of the house doesn't like Cliff, and like
it's like I close the doors at 10 sharp.
Yep.
So a couple of points about this. We're introducing Jenny real quick. So she was based off of originally Betty Page, the pinup
girl.
The pinup girl from the comics. He was because Dave Stevens, the guy who created the Rocketeer, was a huge fan of her. Ended up befriending her later in life, and so he drew her. And they're like, okay, well, she wouldn't give consent to use her name, so they changed it to something close. So Betty becomes Jenny now, and then they also changed her profession because in the comics, she was what Betty was, which was kind of like a risque model for risque pictures and whatnot. And they're like, we'll make her an aspiring Hollywood actress. It plays better to our market, and more family friendly now and whatnot. So I thought that was some interesting story about her. And then going to see when you find out more too about, I think with Cliff, because when he goes to pick her up, he's still dressed in what looks like aviator clothes. You know, it's nice aviator clothes because he has the blouse, pants like you would see like an airman
and the
would
boots.
Wear. The boots. Yeah. I think even he might have had a different version of his jacket or something like that.
It's like a sweater almost.
Oh yeah, he did have the sweater on.
Yeah. But a very, very interesting wardrobe choice for him because he's basically like, and he's still got the gum that he puts underneath, but they end up going to the movies where they're watching the news, and then they go to the same old diner, the same old meals. Like you can see Jenny's kind of like,
this is it, you know.
This is gonna be my life, and she does ask about the plane, and Cliff plays it down. He's like, she flew great. The landing had a few bumps, which is not true.
And then he proceeds to basically, talk down about her wanting to be an actress. How she's talking about how she's got a role in the new Neville Sinclair movie, and he's like, "Come on, Jenny."
I think he more just doesn't like Neville Sinclair because that's the movie they're going to see him. Neville Sinclair.
He doesn't like Neville Sinclair, but he also is. He's just like, you're not the star of the movie. You know, he kind of does that to her. Then one of the guys in the diner, one of the guys who was there, mentions how the plane, crashed, and she's like, "You didn't tell me? Like, I would be the first one. So you should tell that."
As somebody that's been happily married for almost a year.
Happily?
Now, very. For almost a year now, and as Brendan, somebody who got married to the same woman twice.
Yes.
We both watching this movie. I'm sure we both sat there going, "Oh, he did it wrong. He did it wrong. You don't do that. You don't do that ever."
Producer Melody is really upset with me.
Yes.
Yeah, you were. I don't know.
It was more happily for her, but I didn't specify.
I'm sure she's miserable. I am a handful.
Well, she really doesn't look that miserable. She's here.
I took her to see Christopher Atkins. I knew he was going to be there.
No, you didn't.
I didn't know that at all.
Oh man. But no, again, I think this does a good job of establishing the conflict that you were going to see between Jenny and Clifford that helps set up some of the later stuff. Because again, she has a viewpoint of, I want to aspire to bigger things, fancier things, and she likes that. And I think the reason why they also fight about Neville Sinclair is because apparently Neville Sinclair did all the, let's say, dramatic or romantic sort of movies.
Yeah, he was like a romantic, but she tells him like the new we're going to go see this action movie, and he's like, Neville Sinclair?
And he's like,
That's right. Neville Sinclair in an action movie?
That's Sissy Mary?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, 1938.
But I think, again, there's like a little bit of a class difference, too, because I think he's more like the working man who would be the guy who does, he's working to make his money and whatnot. He doesn't have the time or the money to kind of do these fancy things that she wants to do, that she's aspiring to as well. So I think too, like when her idea of where she would like to go out for a date, I think her clothes still look nicer than his, or at least more presentable.
So she basically gets up and is like, "I'm out." She's done for the night. And
of course, he runs out with the burger and his napkin. And Ronnie and I are sitting there going, "Well, you don't leave the burger. Wow. You take the burger with you."
And then, of course, he gets out there just as she's, getting on the slowest bus possible. The bus is rolling away as she's walking onto it. But
he also had to be told by the cook, being like, "Go after her."
Yeah, it's like, "You idiot, go after her."
Because everybody knows that this girl's way too good for you, so you better not lose her.
Pretty much. Now, before this happened, they discover the rocket.
Yes.
So after Bigelow pretty much says, "You can pay me off by, being the clown."
I thought they found the rocket the day after.
No, they find it. They don't test it till after, I believe.
No, I think that it shows the very next day.
It's the next day?
I
thought it was before.
Because he goes to tell her about it.
You're right.
When she's filming.
I thought they found it right away. And
Wikipedia is not wrong. Is wrong on their plot synopsis.
I think a little bit on this one, but a trivia thing I noticed when I was rewatching it, because I had read the comic before I watched it. That vacuum cleaner that he swapped it off with, actually was the original design of the rocket in the comic books.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, oh wait, I recognize that.
So they do find the rocket, and as a kid, I was like, the rocket's so cool.
Yeah.
As an adult, I go, his ass is on fire.
Well, that's the thing. Don't bend your feet because your feet will burn off.
If he farted, he'd die.
He'll push himself down more, probably.
I see. It's funny because, especially he's got a rudder on his head. At one point, he's flying next to the plane, and he's like looking at it, and he salutes. And I was like, he should have gone right into it. Oh, I like it. So they find the rocket, and they don't know what it is, and they accidentally hit the button, and it goes flying around.
And then those bad that was one of those, the effects were a little
little janky.
Okay,
yeah.
But again, for 1991,
because they actually had a prop that shot out the fire.
Yeah.
And there are times where the stuntman's actually wearing it. I'm sure he's got like flame retardant pants and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's still really cool. And I like when he's flying around, things light up behind him.
Yeah.
Because he's got a high-powered, jet engine basically strapped to his back.
So they basically take the rocket to like
they steal a statue.
They cut the statue off at the airport, I believe, and they take it to a deserted area, and they literally tie it to a chain and stake the chain into the ground.
And they managed to jerry-rig a device to activate it from a distance.
Yes. So it's like, and then you get this where it just like looks like a really really weird Peter Pan moment where things just flying in a circle.
The best is how blasé they are when it disappears. He's like, I guess that's that.
And I love how it just magically appears right back where they are.
Because it didn't have a rudder on its head.
Could have gone anywhere. You know?
We're going to need a helmet.
So that's another thing I thought too is like I realized that never once do you see them refill the thing with fuel at all.
PV does mention it. Yeah, he does mention. He says we don't know what kind of fuel life it has, how much it needs. Like they and I think Cliff is the one that says you're the expert. Fix it.
I know,
so
but
you have to just assume that PV just took it apart and he definitely
they pretty much make you assume that PV is like this genius in terms of building a plane, building that type of a motor or something like that.
You also see when he's talking to Howard Hughes, they're talking technicalities.
Yeah,
like
and Hughes is like, wow, I would have never figured. And like Howard Hughes is like admitting like this guy knows a little more than me when it comes to certain things. So it's like you assume he's brilliant in that way, but you find out later in the movie by him talking to Howard Hughes that this guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, basic aviation, Howard.
I just always get annoyed because again, it was infinite. It seemed like infinite fuel in the movie. In the video game, you always had to find the fuel cans to fuel the thing.
Oh, that's one of the hardest video games.
I know. I never played the video game.
Oh, it is rough.
You save yourself some time. Just watch a speed run of it. This way you get the whole thing.
I never knew how to beat it.
Was it for Super Nintendo?
Yeah. Regular Nintendo.
Regular Nintendo.
Regular Nintendo. I played the old school NES version.
I had the Super Nintendo.
The Super Nintendo?
I think so.
I don't know.
I'd have to double
There must not have been a Sega Genesis version of that game because I would have had it.
No, that's licensing at that point.
Yeah, true.
But so you already see Cliff making this. He's like, "You'd pay to see a guy fly, right?" And PV's like, "Stop it! Don't you dare!"
The voice of reason, PV is.
So they decide that they want to use it to make money so that they can get a new plane and do all that. But in the meantime, he goes to tell Jenny about it because how else are you going to get your angry girlfriend back by telling her that you can fly?
Because it's important.
Yeah. And in doing so, he accidentally crashes the set.
The set of the Neville Sinclair movie, which I love this because it's basically, you're reenacting like a scene from like the old Robin Hood. You see that little snippet of 1930s Hollywood, which is always fun to see.
My
Prince.
Yes.
Including the nepotism.
Yes, because like she was supposed to be that character, and then they chose like the producer's niece or something like that. You find
and she's terrible.
And yeah, she's horrible.
Except that last take.
38 takes.
Well, also
but
what really seals how bad of a guy Neville Sinclair is. He stabs his co-star. After the whole when the set comes down. The guy goes like, "Yo, somebody call an ambulance. Charlie's been stabbed."
Yeah.
And like Neville Sinclair's like, "Charlie, I'm really sorry." And the guy's like, "Did you think I was stealing the scene?" Like he knows Neville Sinclair stabbed him on purpose.
I didn't think he actually stabbed him. I thought he just got hurt when the thing came down.
No, he got stabbed.
Oh, I didn't.
And that was like that right there was like, okay, this guy is a bit of a nut. Okay, but
yeah. So Neville Sinclair demands that Jenny get fired and removed from the set. And he overhears Cliff talking to her about the rocket. It's an engine that you strap to your back. It makes you fly. So she gets fired and has to leave, and he uses it to get in with her.
Yes.
Neville Sinclair's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't believe they fired you. You swarmy ass." So...
And I happen to have a standing table at that fancy club restaurant that you want to go to. You've been talking about going to for the longest time. Can I pick you up at 8?
Smooth.
The South Seas Club with Mr. Neville Sinclair. So during all this, Cliff is actually late to the air show he promised to be in. So their friend, who was at the bar, he's the one that tells them, told Jenny about the crash.
That gets Cliff in trouble with Jenny.
What's his name? Malcolm. So Malcolm takes over as Cliff, and he attempts to fly. And Cliff's like, he hasn't been behind the plane in 40 years.
What's he doing?
Since World War I.
Alan Arkin's like, he's trying to save your job, Cliff.
So
and then you
can
see the plane
starting to malfunction because it's an old plane to begin with. And Cliff grabs the rocket and the helmet, and
PV's like, no, we don't know what it's going to do. We haven't tested it enough. You know.
So,
and this is what everybody's been waiting for.
The best line though, he goes,
"How do I look?"
Like a hood ornament.
Always in the trailer.
My favorite running joke is every time Cliff's like, "All right, Peavy, stand back." He's like, "What was that?"
And that really bad stunt double, gets blown back.
That's why you do a good wig.
It's like, you captured their stunt doubles.
Oh god, it's bad. But so Cliff managed, and this is a great scene, and there are a couple of shots where it's real.
It holds up.
Yeah,
because you see him come out. You see all the spectators are noticing that the plane is struggling. And the announcer's like, "Please clear the field." And then Bigelow runs in. He goes,
"It's all part of the
show, folks. Don't worry."
He's not giving back that money. That's
why. And so then all of a sudden, out comes the Rocketeer, and everybody's like, "Oh my god!"
And of course, all the gangsters are like, "That's the thing we need," because they're there trying to find it.
Yeah.
So Cliff manages to save Malcolm, drops him in the little inflatable.
Don't they have a picture of Jenny? That's why they're there, something like that.
No, because Lothar found out that they stashed it there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why he's there. The picture's later.
Okay.
It's Mr. Ketchup Bottle. Yeah. So they start chasing the Rocketeer, we get a fun little scene. The music and big
music is
gophers.
Great. The press is like running to the phones, like telling everybody to hold the front page.
There's a Rocket Man,
a flying man, and everybody's like, the gangsters are running after him. Peavy is, driving his little truck.
And of course, his truck catches up. But,
I love how he's able to find them.
Yeah.
And that's another thing.
So Cliff, after some fun flying shenanigans, he does actually crash in the water. I like it. And in all honesty, the escape is cool as a kid, but as an adult, I was like, his entire body would have been crushed.
Yes.
Peavy, put it in neutral.
Put it in neutral.
He slams into everything, yeah.
And Peavy thinks it's just the news guys. It's actually the gangsters that
take
the rocket and kill them.
Like...
Yeah.
So they manage to escape, and Bigelow decides he's going to capitalize on this, and he names Cliff the Rocketeer. Rocketeer becomes front page news.
Does sound a lot better than Rocket Man or Rocket Boy.
I like Missile Man.
I didn't hear that one.
Yeah. What about Missile Man? Nah, that stinks. Yeah. It was such a great scene. But so after that, Sinclair sends Lothar to Cliff and Peavy's house.
Yes.
And because the FBI is also like, "Oh, that's the thing. We needed that." Crap. So they get wise to it, and I think, what is it? Oh, they go to Bigelow's house because they think he knows who it is.
Well, they go to Bigelow first, and they find him dead.
Folded in half,
and they see the imprint of what Lothar had written on the little pad with the address of Cliff and Peavy's house. So you get a little fight between Peavy, Cliff, and Lothar.
You would have thought they would have told Lothar, "Hey, it looks like this.
Yeah.
Not this lamp."
And the FBI shows up and literally just starts shooting into that. Well, no, Lothar shoots at him first. They think it's Cliff and Peavy. And they start shooting machine guns into the.
They were so ready to fire right off the bat. They were just like, "Yeah, we're gonna give you
10
2 counts.
seconds.
We're gonna give you count of 3." And then
well, they think that they were in on it the whole time.
Yeah, they think they're the ones that killed Bigelow probably.
Yeah.
And you get a nice little gunfight there, and then Lothar escapes by stealing the plans of the rocket.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't find the rocket, but he finds the drawing of the rocket
that Peavy was making.
So they escape. Peavy and Cliff, and they head to the diner
where they hide upstairs.
And at the same time,
Neville
Sinclair is at the Southeast Club with Jenny, trying to schmooze her.
Yes, and he gives a photo of Jenny to 2 of his gangsters.
Yes.
So the bad guys arrive at the diner looking for. They don't know what Cliff looks like.
No.
They don't know what Peavy looks like either. So they go to the diner, and because originally Cliff was going to call the FBI and get this all sorted. Like, hey, we didn't do this. This wasn't us.
Well, he also wanted to turn it in because the whole time Peavy's like, "Turn it in. It's not our stuff. We said we would turn this thing in. It's too dangerous. We're getting the police on us. We're getting the gangsters on us."
Yeah. So they the bad guys get there, and there's I love that scene as an adult. I thoroughly enjoy that scene where they're it's the tension, and he's about to fry Peavy's face on the grill. That's dark.
Yes, I also like this. I mean, I remember watching the scene. I was like, I feel like this really definitely shows the loyalty. As much as he's making fun of Cliff and you're an idiot, and they all that whole little group bands together to help protect each other.
They're true friends.
Once they find out that who Jenny is and where she is, she's with Neville Sinclair, And, then they realize who Cliff is after they send more gangsters there.
Does a Superman punch.
Yeah, it's great. It's Mr. Ketchup Bottle.
And then after they subdue everybody, they go upstairs, and Peevy's still like, no, we talked about this. You got to turn in. He's like, yeah, but Jenny's in trouble.
And this will be the fastest way to get there.
Peevy also notices before Cliff takes off, he goes, oh, wait a minute, you're leaking there. And he goes, what are you talking about? It's like, you must have did something.
Caught a ricochet.
Caught a ricochet. So it's like, it's leaking fuel. Like, if he had hit and Peavy says,
would have been all over the map by now.
We would have been dead. So he takes the gum from one part of the rocket, and basically the gum keeps the fuel.
Like, see if your luck's still holding.
Yeah.
At the same time, after Cliff leaves, though, you see a gun being pointed at Peevy.
And you don't know who it is.
We find out later it's the FBI.
It's the FBI, and they take Peevy to Howard Hughes.
So Cliff arrives, and he takes a disguise as a waiter, and he spills soup, and he gets Jenny.
Great.
I love...
Because he's like, they're talking about him as he's serving the soup, and she says something like,
he's the worst person ever.
And he just is like,
because she picks up, because he puts the plates on, and he puts a little note in her thing right away.
Yeah.
She's like talk to me in 2 seconds.
Yeah, meet me at the Fern. And even better, he's like, prepare yourself for a shock. I'm the Rocketeer. Who?
Where have you been?
I've been working. So they find out that Cliff's there, and they send all the gangsters there, because this is also Valentine's club.
Yes.
He's in the back room. Neville Sinclair, he gets a gun, and Cliff manages to get away and get the rocket.
And that's a good scene where he's up. He takes off up the laundry chute.
Yes.
And then he's like on the table, and he's rolling in, and then he goes over the ledge, and then he's flying at the top of the club.
Yes, no, that was definitely, it was just kind of cool. He's like, oh, because it starts off with him hiding it in there in the laundry bag, and then he comes back like, oh crap, there's like 5 laundry bags.
5 laundry bags now.
So like, this is the right one.
And he has that moment like,
How about the one that's solid, Cliff?
But anyway. I love how he dives head first. I'm like, you're gonna dive right on the one day.
I forgot my helmet. But anyway, so he manages to get up into the club, and he's like flying around. And I like the patrons. They're like, it's the Rocketeer.
It's the Rocketeer. It's just so cool.
And then Neville's like, bar the doors. No, nobody get out. We'll get him that way. And Jenny had just got out of it too. She was like,
of course, she looks back and she sees the Rocketeer flying, and she's like, oh.
And Cliff manages to use the swan to open the door.
Yes.
I never knew what he was trying to do in that. But then, before he escapes, he gets caught in the net.
Yes.
And it looks like all hope is lost, but Jenny knocks out a guy. I hit the microphone as I did that, and he goes flying through the...
I don't know why this always... It wasn't so much funny, but the scene before all this happens, you see that the band is playing like underneath a giant clam.
Yeah.
And there's water. Like, there's water flowing.
Oh, yeah.
And the clam starts to close, and these guys look like they're escaping, like, death.
It's like the Titanic over there.
It's like this clam is closing. I'm like, can they get that clam back open? Like,
well,
this guy's stuck in that.
Well, it's also on fire.
It was?
The back of the clam's on fire, because that's why it closed, because Cliff flew behind it. You could see it's on fire, and that's why it's slowly closing. But Cliff manages to escape, but Jenny, Neville Sinclair's onto her because he finds the note. Chloroforms her, yeah. Why did he have that with him? What kind of date?
Nobody else noticed that.
What kind of date did he think he was having?
Because I guess every bad guy back then
every
had that in their pockets.
Nazis carry around chloroform apparently. So Jenny wakes up at Neville Sinclair's house and realizes that he's a Nazi agent because she finds his secret room after she knocks him out. After he makes her wear.
That was a great scene.
Yes. Can you help me with my zipper? Boom!
Yeah,
finally did a scene with Neville
Sinclair.
It's very
similar to Indiana Jones, where
yes.
where Belloc wants to have Marion wear this dress, and she uses it as a cover to hide the knife. But so Jenny is sort of like flirting with him, seducing him. He goes in to try and kiss her, and then she just takes the vase and just knocks him out.
I also think this shows, I think, again, the idea of how intelligent she is as a character. Because he's trying to seduce her with all these lines from his movies and plays, and she's like, you said this in this movie to this person. And he's like, what type of fangirl did I pick up? But that's how she sees
pre-internet too.
Yeah. So this way she can clearly see like, oh, he's not really as charming as he's trying to hide the fact that because she calls him out on like, hey, you drugged me to get me here. You kidnapped me. You are not a nice guy. I'm not going to give you what you want. You know?
And then she finds out he's a Nazi.
Yeah. After she knocks him out, like, wait, he's a Nazi.
She finds the radio and she's like, help, help, and then you just hear this German voice at the other end going, like, Sinclair. Sinclair?
Sorry, that was so offensive.
She's like, oh, God, Neville Sinclair is... And then they got that scene where he's got the napkin over his head, and he's like, what? A saboteur? A Nazi?
So she gets subdued, but Cliff makes it back to the diner, hides the rocket there, And I love how the FBI finds him there, and they're like, "We couldn't find the rocket. It's in the garbage. It's right there."
Did you really look?
You guys are the worst. But he does get a message to be at the Griffin Observatory to save Jenny.
Yes.
So
but
he
they take him.
He gets
to
arrested.
Howard Hawks. Howard
Not
Hughes.
Howard Hawks.
Nah, Howard Hawks. Sorry.
That's his superhero name. So he does get to meet Howard Hughes, and I love the propaganda film. So basically, they find out that the Nazis want to create an army of flying soldiers.
Yep.
I love the very Iron Man 2 reel of
you're right.
them testing it, and then it explodes.
It's terrifying. I mean, like, to see what their plans were, you're like, oh, wow. Okay.
And I love
and that's why Howard Hughes is like, now you know why we need to destroy this thing.
The guy who died, by the way, that was Dave Stevens, the original creator. That was his cameo.
Oh, really?
Very cool.
Yes, his Stan Lee moment.
And we find out that the reason that theirs works is because the fuel's they have 2 cylinders that preheats it and cools the engine at the same time.
Yes.
That's why all the other rockets were exploding.
I think
you see like clips of like the Germans testing and guys like, blowing up
right
stuff
away.
like that.
So after he sees that, like, Cliff's like honest. He's like, they have my girl. I'll give it back to you. I promise. Like, you'll get your rocket back. You just got to let me use it. Manages to escape. Howard Hughes stops the FBI from literally shooting Cliff. And we find out that the Spruce Goose would fly.
Yes.
But one of my favorite scenes, he lands in the entire Nazi-filled, the gangster Nazi-filled...
well, we don't know the Nazis are there yet.
Yeah. So when he lands and he's just walking past every gangster like a boss.
Yep.
And they want the rocket, and he starts taking it off, and then Cliff is smart, and he tells Valentine, he's like, he's a Nazi, right?
Yeah, Valentine's like, just give him the rocket so we can all go home, kid. And he's like, Eddie, how's it feel like working for a Nazi? And
for dollars to Deutschmarks.
And you see Valentine's face going like, what the hell is he talking about?
And Cliff says, he's like, I got it straight from the feds. Nazi spy rings, flying commandos, the works.
Yeah.
And
then Jenny chimes in,
yep.
and they start. I love it. He's
the,
like, talk fast, Sinclair, and
well, I
Cliff
love
goes, you tell him, Eddie. He's like, shut up.
one of the gangsters, because he sees Lothar about to like pull a gun, he goes, hold it, Frankenstein. You ain't inhuman.
You ain't bulletproof.
You ain't bulletproof, and then Sinclair's trying to justify, like, does it matter who I work for? He goes, it matters to me. I might not make an honest buck, but I am 100% American. Let the girl go. And I mean, that is just a symbol of what it was back then.
It makes you wonder what he needed Valentine for when he had an army in the bushes. Like, all right, as soon as he starts yelling, we're going, guys.
Well, no, at that point, I agree with you. What was the reasoning to why Valentine was there? Maybe he didn't want it. They didn't want to deduce that the Nazis were there, but he had to. But it makes no sense because there's a Zeppelin literally about to come across the building.
I think because I don't think the army was there till the Zeppelin showed up in L.A.
Well, the Zeppelin was they talk about it earlier in the movie where it's traveling around the world as a sign of peace.
Yes.
So the Zeppelin arrives, and another great scene. They're all watching it as it comes up, and
that holds up too.
That does, yeah.
So the FBI found the note about the Griffin Observatory at 2 a.m. and they show up, and I love it. The lights turn on, and it's a sting. Shoot him, and like just such a great scene.
And then he launches the rocket, and with like one of the Nazis with them, and they like fly out into the
but he can't steer because he doesn't have the helmet on.
That's right.
So they literally just go flying down. And it shows how like Cliff's gotten so much better with this thing in just a couple of days.
And you really don't, you'd like to have seen more of him flying.
Yeah,
I think that's probably the one knock on the film. But
he's only the Rocketeer for a day and a half.
Pretty much. I mean, that's the one knock I have about the movie. Is like I wish you could have seen a little more flying. But
so he takes a gun from one of the Nazis. He grabs his helmet and he's running. Jenny gets taken onto the Zeppelin.
So wait, I'm going to pause you there. Just I always thought it was kind of cool. They had that Spider-Man moment from Spider-Man 1. Where he's like, all right, I have the gun, and there's the American flag, and it's all like a nice little pose.
That was the opening scene to the video game. That was the start screen.
Oh,
that
yeah.
Shot.
Oh, really?
And then he launches off. But I also laughed, too, and just to segue into the Zeppelin pit, he gets the gun. And then promptly lose it. He has the gun for all of like 2 minutes.
Well, let's not forget, Cliff's not. They never say he was like a war pilot or a soldier or anything like that.
He's too young to be a World War I.
Yeah, he's just a normal guy.
I know, but I just find it funny. Like even like
no, it's a typical books, he's not. He
gets the gun for the photo op. That's really
he's
what
not
it
James
was.
Bond.
Yeah.
He's
No,
but I always
James Bond's on the plane.
That's
the blimp.
true.
Yeah.
But I always loved where he takes off from the top of the observatory,
great.
and Valentine's just like, "Go get him, kid."
Yep.
And then he promptly accidentally flies into a wire.
Yes.
Again, it shows that It's only been a couple of days.
Yeah, he's not perfect.
He's not like, it's not like any of those superhero movies where suddenly they just know like the logistics and the mechanics of everything.
And I think what's kind of cool, actually, so he gets hit by the wire. He's working his way up, and Lothar comes out. And Lothar does a smart thing because he can't fly. He grabs a little restraint belt.
Yeah, he ties himself.
But
which I think, maintenance harness.
The maintenance harness, which I think is a great thing because you think that, it's smart at the time, and then you see how it pays off later on, like 2 minutes later.
Yeah, 2 times it pays off. I mean, semi-pays off for him. Because he knocks him, he launches into Lothar and basically knocks Lothar off the Zeppelin, but because he's tied down, he swings into the window, knocks another Nazi out of the Zeppelin.
Well, they needed to lose some weight.
The best pilot. And
the pilot.
He's our best pilot. Boing.
Well, you have that typical Nazi, like very similar to the from Raiders of the Lost Ark. And
he looks just like him.
He's like
the hat and everything.
He's yelling at Sinclair. He's like,
we are losing weight.
We're losing this,
altitude.
We're losing that. And Sinclair finally gives up and just shoots the guy, and he falls out of the Zeppelin.
For the fatherland.
For the fatherland. And then obviously Lothar swings in and knocks the other pilot off. So there's no one to fly this thing now.
Yeah. Again, though, I love this scene when Cliff drops down and he Sinclair has Jenny with a gun, and he's like, slide the rocket over. Okay. So he moves the gum so it starts leaking again.
Yes.
Slides it over because Cliff's not dumb.
Nah.
Like is he brash and like hot-headed? Absolutely. He's a pilot in 1938. He's America, and
America.
So, slides it over, and Jenny's not a damsel in this movie. Like, there are times where she's in trouble, but she does, like, she knocks out the one guard.
She holds her own.
I would say she holds her own.
She was running back into that club.
She wasn't a damsel in distress at all in this movie.
I don't think so. Like, she was captured a lot. She was very Marion.
I think Marion gets. I think that's a fair comparison, but I don't think they're damsel in distresses.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, the two of them are very similar. I wasn't saying either one of them were. But
the animated Fox version of Maid Marian's one popped in my head, though. That version.
God. So they managed to knock out the other pilot because Sinclair has to get the rocket himself. Mm-hmm. They end up fighting, and I loved, again, one of my favorite lines is, "Where's your stuntman now, Sinclair?" He turns around, punches him in the face. He's like, "I do my own stunts." Then they start fighting.
Which is true, because apparently Timothy Dalton was one of the few the only James Bond at the time who did his own stunts. Yeah. So that was a nice little joke with that. I also liked how if you listen, Dalton is starting to use actually at times more of a German accent when he's talking, as opposed to, because I know he's a British. I'm not sure he's supposed to be playing a British character, but you start hearing more of a German accent with him. Which I thought was a nice
the minute
touch.
you find out he's a Nazi, after all the Nazis show up at the observatory, you definitely hear more in his voice. He's obviously more comfortable now to to shed his cover. But he'll speak a little more.
I love this fight because it's very like they're like pulling hair and grabbing each other by the face. Like it's not like a blocking and punching and back and forth like martial arts. It's a brawl.
Yeah.
And they're bleeding and this. And Jenny tries to help by grabbing a flare gun. She doesn't realize it's a flare gun. She thinks it's just a regular gun,
which is still a bad idea in a Zeppelin full of helium. Oh, sorry, hydrogen.
Very true.
I should know this.
Like she was just trying to help. Like she doesn't know that.
Yeah.
So she fires the flare gun, which ricochets and flies all over, and the blimp gets lit on fire. Sinclair manages to get the rocket while they're trying to put out the fire. Mm-hmm. He's like, "I'll miss Hollywood," and Cliff's like, "I don't think so."
Was it all? Was it all lies? No, it wasn't lies.
Jenny, it was acting.
It was acting.
So he tries to fly away, and the rocket ends up lighting.
This effect is still a little hokey, but it works.
Yeah.
And then he's that fireball, and it lands, of course, because the running joke is the Hollywood land sign back before then. You knock out the land, and now it's the Hollywood sign.
Yeah.
Before they took the land part off.
I was thinking about this too, because I wasn't sure how I felt like, the ricochet just happened to create a leak for it. But I think if you take logically, like, okay, we want the bad guy not to win. You got to do something to the rocket, and I thought this was a very clever way of working backwards. To be like, well, if he burns up and blows up, okay, how can we do that? Ricochet, oil? All right, I think that's a great idea.
I also love it because it's not the typical, you think they made it going safe, and Cliff saves Jenny, and they fly off, off the Zeppelin before it crashes. But no, they stick to, Sinclair gets the rocket, and he goes away, but obviously, he blows up and dies.
And now you're wondering how
are these guys going to get off the Zeppelin? So they make it to the top of the Zeppelin,
I like how, though, they get to the top and Lothar finally climbs up and he's got the knife. He's like, I'm going to kill you guys.
I'm gonna kill you guys. But then it starts to blow up and they're like, run!
Boom. But he's still harnessed in. That was,
and you kind of feel for the guy a little bit there, but you're like, because he's just like...
Full-on incineration.
They're running and like, I can't run.
And then out of nowhere comes...
Howard Hughes and Peavy.
And they, we're only going to get one try at this?
In the auto gyro. That's what it's called. The auto gyro. Known as a gyroplane or gyrocopter. So they managed to catch them, and man, I don't think I would have been able to hold on. Like,
I was thinking that too. Like,
oh
God, no!
Holding on with 1,000-degree heat.
My Project Adventure days right there.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh god.
So they managed to get off. The thing explodes. They chalk it all up.
Who knows what that fell on? I want to know.
On the rest of the Hollywood land sign, just to make sure it was gone. Right on top of Neville Sinclair.
Pretty much.
So it cuts back to a few days later where. They're
back at the diner.
They're reading the paper, and everybody's like, things covered up. And...
I love that, though. I love where he's reading, like, Neville Sinclair killed in a tragic accident when,
That was a nice car.
When something falls, I was like, oh, that's too bad. That was a nice car.
Yeah.
I love that. I thought that was a great...
Well,
they didn't have to mention anything, but the fact it shows that they covered it up.
Because if the American people in 1938 had found out that not only did Nazis, land on American soil, but they also managed to steal top secret military equipment.
And that, one of the top stars in Hollywood was a Nazi spy.
And also that the FBI just helped, and it was actually a rogue pilot using stolen technology to save the day.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Public's not ready for the truth.
Not yet.
But then we get, so obviously Cliff and Jenny have, made up, and they're back together. But then you see that Howard Hughes has arrived in a freshly new made airplane,
which is even funnier because I always imagine him just driving there.
Yeah,
as opposed to flying it in. And
I get annoyed when I'm behind a tractor.
Cliff is like, "Whoa, this is awesome, Mr. Hughes," and he goes, "Well, check out the pilot's name." And they take off the
tape,
tape,
big reveal.
Pilot Cliff Secord, and he's like, "Huh?"
So he gets a brand new plane, and also we find out that Jenny stole for days. She's now had the blueprints to the rocket.
That's right.
Yeah.
And she gives them to Peavy, and Peavy's like, "Hey, I can do all these things, and I can make this go faster." And
they all walk away from him because
they're making out.
They're making out.
Oh, they're making out, and he goes, he tries. Oh, okay.
Hey, Goose, take a look at this.
And that is the Rocketeer.
That is the Rocketeer.
That is the Rocketeer, man. it really is an enjoyable movie. It really is. And
it's just fun, and the soundtrack is just fire.
Very good, and again, we agree. This movie to us holds up to this day. It's a movie we'd wished maybe they made a sequel to. I would love to have seen a follow-up. Where it would have gone, what they could have done. We ended up getting a TV show, apparently, an animated TV show for basically Disney Junior. There was rumblings. I remember back right 2012-ish, 2013. Disney, this was about the time when Tron had come out and they were starting to reboot a lot of stuff. The Rocketeer kind of got some steam blown, but nothing came of it, sadly.
The last things we heard were in 2016. There were talks about rebooting it called The Rocketeers. There was talk about doing a gender swap of Cliff Secord. There was always a lot of talk. The last thing on April 6, 2016, it was confirmed that the film would be a sequel. And then on February 8, 2020, it was reported that Zia Squire wrote a new draft for the sequel, which would be released on Disney's streaming service, Disney Plus, and directed by J.D. Dillard.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they are working on something. Unfortunately, I as much as I want a sequel, I'd rather they just do a we love Tron Legacy.
Yes.
But Tron Legacy is a perfect example of what happens when you make a sequel with updated technology to a film that's dated by its technology so many years later. I don't know.
It's loved by the fans, but it's not loved by the general public.
Yes.
So the Tron fans like Tron Legacy. It's just the rest of the world didn't really care for it. So I have a feeling that this would be the same thing. The fans of The Rocketeer would go to see this movie with open arms, but it's would the rest of, everyone else want to go see it.
I think putting it on Disney Plus is The Rocketeer on Disney Plus?
Yes.
I think putting it on there and having that, people will watch the original.
Oh, yeah. And I highly recommend. I mean, to me, that's the easiest way for you to watch this movie. If you have Disney Plus, go watch it. It's an hour and a half of your time. It will not be wasted.
I mean, you're listening to us for over an hour.
Pretty much. But real quick, we did not mention who I think needs a lot of credit for this movie, and that's the director, Joe Johnston.
I thought you were talking about Rob. He just got here for the next podcast.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because I was looking up that Joe
Johnston. This is 1991, so this is 2 years after Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which I believe is like his first directorial debut.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
That is one of your favorite movies.
That's a good classic.
He follows it up with this, The Rocketeer. He does Jumanji. He obviously, we know him. He did Captain America, The First Avenger. So he's another one of these directors who, you look at his filmography, and a lot of his films are like these movies we grew up with that we all just enjoy. He's not Spielberg. He's not George Lucas. We're not saying he is, but he's quality, and he does a good job with what he does.
Well, I was reading up, I think either somewhere on Wikipedia about him, and it said that basically the experience, because he had the experience with the Rocketeer, that's what helped him get the first Avenger job in the first place.
Yes.
The Wolfman.
Oh, I love that movie, though.
Up until the last 20 minutes.
Yes. No, I agree.
That was a remake of the original?
With Benicio del Toro. They did it back in 2009.
He did the Page Master.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about the Page Master.
Just the live action sequences.
Yes.
Wow.
So that was a pretty easy paycheck.
He did Jurassic Park 3. Oh,
yes.
minus
I
5
like
points.
I like Jurassic Park 3.
Get out of here.
Jurassic Park 3 is not hiding what it is. Like, I actually like Jurassic Park 3 more than Lost World.
Crap.
Are you saying crap to Lost World or crap to Jurassic Park 3?
Jurassic Park 3.
Okay.
I mean, that's the first one that wasn't based off a book.
Okay, let me rephrase this. Jurassic Park 3 is a better movie than Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
I'll give you that one.
Thank you.
I'd have to rewatch Fallen Kingdom. I only saw it the one time.
I think it's a straight line, or a correct rate of decreasing returns as you go further on with the sequel. So one's great.
I will say Jurassic World is.
I like Jurassic World.
I really enjoy Jurassic World.
Jurassic Fallen Kingdom was such a letdown of a movie to me. But I think that will conclude this episode, unless you guys have anything else. Oh, Star City rating. Good job.
I will give The Rocketeer a 3.5 out of 5.
Okay.
It is a well above average movie for me. It's still, like I said at the beginning, the things that make it hold up are the story, the plot. Are the effects dated? Absolutely.
But I think that's another reason why we like it.
It reminds us of an older time and sense of a younger time.
Again,
this was also before superhero movies started following formulas and set up for the next sequel. Like, is there a little bit of setup for a sequel? A little, just like the last 4 seconds.
Yeah, there's no cliffhanger. There's no, there's nothing.
Just a Cliff Secord.
I see what you did there.
But this was a superhero movie well ahead of its time, and just such a good time, and comic accurate, and they were able to take this costume that maybe would have been cheesy otherwise, but they made it work, and they gave it point, and they gave it a purpose. And the cast is fantastic. The music is fantastic. The twists, the turns, the tension. It's a PG movie, but it's really a PG-13 movie. Like, again, a guy gets folded in half.
And burned alive.
And people get burned alive. So I
if
give
that movie was made 100% exactly the way it was made today, I still think it would be PG.
I can stand with you on that one.
I just don't think it's that bad. I agree with you. But the fact that it was PG in 1991 means to me I think it would be PG today.
Well, I think also too it helps that there really isn't any language. I think that helps too.
Yeah,
that was also a product like that. That's a period piece. Like the language was few and far between as far as we know back then.
Well, unless you watch like a movie like LA Confidential.
Fair.
How about you, Brendan? Star City rating?
I was gonna go with 3. I'm trying to keep myself simple without using fractions. But for me, the movie is, again, to me, it's a nostalgic, fun time for me because I saw it when I was younger. But even rewatching it recently, I'm like, okay, the stuff holds up. I think the things I feel like I'm catching all the little things that they said. Everything sets up the next thing pretty well. You understand the motivations pretty clearly about the characters. I think the twist about the Nazi thing was kind of a cool change as opposed to, oh my God, he's just the bad guy all the time. I think it's fun. I wish there was more of him actually being the Rocketeer, like flying around in the suit. But to me, it's a 3. It's a fun movie. I watch it again.
I'm gonna go 4.
I knew it. I watched it happen. I watched the process.
This is just like it's gotta be one of my more favorite movies of Disney of that time. As Brendan said, the nostalgia, the period film, the effects. Even though yes, they're not the effects we're used to today, but again, for 1991, they hold up. I at no point am I watching this movie going like, oh man, that's crap. Yes. Are there dated effects? Yes. There are dated effects in Star Wars. Let's
Well,
it's just the time.
To help you out with that, I think that these data effects still look better than any bad CGI we've seen
I
more
agree.
recently.
I mean, it's Disney. Disney was never gonna step up the money and go crazy on the effects. This isn't James Cameron with Terminator. This isn't Steven Spielberg with Jurassic Park. So it's just one of those movies that every now and then I'm like, you know what? I'm in the mood. Let me watch this, and I love it. So good. Anything else we want to add to this, guys?
I got nothing.
You got nothing?
I don't think I got anything more in my notes. I think I covered just about everything.
Well, as always, folks, first of all, Brendan, thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys very much for having
definitely
me.
hope we can do this again sooner rather than later. We got to pick the right movie. We do have, real quick, some exciting news coming up for both our podcasts on the Misfit Faction Network. We'll let the multiverse let you guys know what's going on for them in their episode. But Paul, what's the special event we got coming up for us?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Why is your hand on my thigh? Get off.
That's Ronnie.
Okay,
sorry.
No, don't listen to those guys. Okay.
No, we do have some. Your microphone's not on. Do you want to announce it, Ronnie? No. We do have coming up is our 50th episode. 50 episodes of Cinematic Adventures.
Who would have thought?
We haven't decided if we're going to.
And there goes the effects budget.
I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna turn that microphone off. But yes, we are having our 50th episode. We're not sure if we're gonna do a specific movie or do something special or like a favorites episode or a
guys.
top 5 episode.
We figure our episodes out 5 seconds before we get on the air.
That's fair.
So definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, so we do have that coming up on the pipeline, so we're really excited about it. We will keep an eye on our social media, both our Instagram and our Facebook, the Misfit Faction.
If anyone's got any suggestions, reach out to us. Something you want to hear us do,
like a fan feedback Friday.
Oh, nice segue there.
Segue. So on that note, we do have our fan feedback Friday for this week. Would you like me to do it now, Sean?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh my God, I'd love to. So today's question: what is one movie you always tell people they need to see? This is fun because Sean and I are actually the kings of telling people they should have seen that movie. Insert movie here.
That just happened to me because I was telling them off air that I listened to their review of Speed Racer. I'm like, you guys convinced me that I should go see this movie now.
Well,
that's how I saw Grandma's Boy. Sean literally told me you need to go see Grandma's
Boy. Basketball.
Sean is responsible for
Animal House.
See, I am not a diehard Animal House fan.
I will probably never see that movie.
I've seen Animal House maybe once or twice in its entirety.
Really?
It never really did it for me.
Okay, fair enough.
All right,
but
so
we got some good ones here.
We did get some good ones here.
I love this first one. Well, no, not Ronnie's, but Rob's.
I'll go through it. We got Hardball. We got David Fincher's Zodiac with Robert Downey Jr., Jake Gyllenhaal, and Mark Ruffalo.
Such a good movie.
Great 70s period piece about obsession, amazing filmmaking and acting. The Shawshank Redemption, The Monster Squad, which we did do an episode on, so if you haven't seen it, make sure you check it out. Chinatown.
Excellent movie.
Fired Up, and trying to find a GIF response to that was not easy, my friends. L.A. Confidential, Old School, The Green Mile, and
Such a combination right there.
And Donnie Darko.
There's
one more, according to producer Ronnie. I'll just refresh this for the fourth time. Is that what he said?
Rush Hour.
Rush Hour. Yes, Rush Hour is a great movie.
Rush Hour is that's a forgotten one for me.
That's one of those
great movie.
Rush Hour is one of those series where even though all 3 movies are pretty much the same, I still enjoy all 3 movies.
Fun fact: Rush Hour, first ever DVD I ever owned.
Rush Hour 2 was my first. Yeah, first time for everybody. Now, also, behind the scenes, I don't know if you guys know, Ronnie and Rob are both here, and they're both trying to talk to us without making words while we have headphones on.
Oh, yeah.
I am having a lot of trouble.
Anxiously awaiting.
Mouthing my words.
Yes.
It's just like when we do the podcast, and I just turn off their microphones, and they don't realize it until the episode comes out.
Did you do that to me?
What? Who? You guys put me in charge of this. I don't know.
We'll talk about this.
Yeah, we're going to talk about this. Not on the microphone because it's not on.
Well, folks, as always, we're happy to do this and, hopefully continue on doing this beyond 50.
Beyond 50?
Beyond 50.
It's actually the title of my autobiography.
Really?
Beyond 50.
Well, thank you again to Brendan for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, guys. Again,
and what was the name of your YouTube channel?
My YouTube channel is BlindBat8719, BLNDBAT8719. I am blind because I'm missing an eye. That's my personal joke for my name. So find me on YouTube. I'm a Magic the Gathering content creator. If you like playing Magic the Gathering, come on to the channel, watch some videos with me, and subscribe and help me grow. If you guys have trouble finding his page, we are a follower of his page. So if you go onto our YouTube page, the Misfit Faction Media Network, you'll see him under people we're subscribed to and people who are subscribed to us. Thank you very much for the subscription. Oh, yeah. I even like your videos every once in a while. Thank you very much. As sporadically as I post them on ours. Yeah. But anything else, Sean? Nope, that is it. As always, I'm Sean. I'm Paul. I'm Brendan. And have a good one, everybody. Bye. Bye. Hey guys, today's episode is brought to you by Raise Energy Drinks. Raise is a proud member of Rep Sports, and if you guys are looking for a little extra kick during your day, whether you need to tackle a workout or you need to get over that afternoon slump, you can always check out Raise Energy, and if you get to checkout and you enter the code Cinematic, not only will you be getting a 15% discount, but you'll also be supporting the network. So that's Raise Energy with Rep Sports. Code is Cinematic, CINEMATIC.